Alright, let's talk about something truly terrifying. The slow, agonizing demise of American retail. I'm not talking about some niche bookstore that smelled faintly of cabbage. I'm talking about behemoths, titans of industry, places where your Aunt Brenda used to drag you for back-to-school shopping. Across this great nation, once thriving stores are starting to resemble the background of a post-apocalyptic film set. Shelves are bare, prices are making your eyes water more than that time you accidentally used shampoo with menthol, and local communities are left wondering where the hell they're supposed to buy tube socks. So buckle up, because today, we're diving headfirst into the abyss, dissecting 15 major US retail chains that are currently taking on water faster than a Titanic-themed cruise ship with a rogue iceberg fetish. We're talking about what's causing this retail apocalypse, and what it means for all of us, from the jobs lost to the dwindling access to reasonably priced adult diapers. Now before you start questioning my sanity and wondering if I've confused a Big Mac with a pair of khakis, hear me out. While not a traditional retailer, McDonald's is a bellwether for broader economic trends. And folks, the golden arches are starting to look a little tarnished. We're talking about rising prices that are making that dollar menu feel like a distant, delicious memory. We're seeing store closures across the country, leaving gaping, burger-shaped holes in our hearts in strip malls. And perhaps most ominously, we're witnessing the rise of the machines. Automation is creeping into McDonald's like a rogue, sentient milkshake machine. And that's bad news for anyone who relies on a paycheck from the Hamburglar's favorite haunt. Now you might be thinking, John, I haven't eaten a McDonald's hamburger since I was brave enough to try that McRib monstrosity back in the 07. But this isn't just about questionable meat patties and suspiciously addictive special sauce. This is about a seismic shift in the way we work, consume, and exist in a world where even the McFlurry machine is plotting its revenge. So, next time you're tempted by a 20-piece McNugget, take a moment to ponder the bigger picture, because the future of fast food, and perhaps even retail itself, is looking as uncertain as the ingredients in a chicken McNugget. Ah, Costco, the land of giant teddy bears, industrial-sized jars of mayonnaise, and the ever-present temptation to buy a kayak when you only came in for toilet paper. But hold on to your oversized shopping carts, folks, because even this retail behemoth isn't immune to the winds of change. We're talking about membership cancellations, people abandoning ship faster than a pirate with a bad case of scurvy. The allure of bulk buying seems to be waning, and frankly, I'm not surprised. Who needs a year's supply of mayonnaise when you can barely afford to keep your car fueled on the fumes of your hopes and dreams? And let's not forget Costco's Achilles heel, its online presence, or lack thereof. In a world ruled by Amazon Prime and next-day delivery, Costco's website is about as user-friendly as a medieval torture device. They're lagging behind and it's starting to show. So, while Costco might still be the go-to destination for suburban dads stocking up on Kirkland brand everything, the cracks are beginning to show. And if even a company built on the promise of bulk discounts and free samples is struggling, it's a sign that the retail landscape is shifting faster than a toddler in a shopping cart full of bouncy balls. Now let's talk about Walgreens, a company whose name has become synonymous with fluorescent lighting and the faint scent of hand sanitizer. But behind those automatic doors lies a tale of woe that would make even the most hardened pharmacist weep. We're talking about large-scale downsizing, stores closing faster than you can say extra-strength pain reliever. Financial losses are piling up like empty pill bottles, and the labor shortage is hitting them harder than a rogue shopping cart in a crowded aisle. It's a perfect storm of retail misery, and frankly it's hard to see a way out. The rise of online pharmacies, combined with the ever-increasing cost of healthcare, has left Walgreens in a precarious position. They're caught between a rock and a hard place, or perhaps more accurately, a prescription drug shortage and a dwindling customer base. So, next time you find yourself wandering the aisles of Walgreens, spare a thought for this once mighty drugstore chain. Because if even a company that literally sells you the things you need to stay alive is struggling, it's a sign that the retail apocalypse is upon us. Chapter 4, CVS from corner drugstore to corner of despair. Ah, CVS, the pharmacy that's also a grocery store, that's also a bank, that's also somehow a place to buy discounted Halloween candy in January. But even this jack-of-all-trades retailer is facing an uphill battle steeper than the price of their greeting cards. We're talking about a world where people are increasingly turning to the cold, impersonal embrace of e-commerce for their over-the-counter needs. Telehealth is chipping away at their in-store clinic business, and rising operational costs are squeezing them tighter than a blood pressure cuff on a particularly stressful day. It's enough to make you want to reach for the antacids, which, ironically, you could probably buy in bulk at CVS. But the problem is bigger than just one pharmacy chain. This is about the changing nature of healthcare, the rise of online shopping, and the fact that nobody wants to navigate those endless aisles just to find out they're out of your preferred brand of allergy medication. So, while CVS might still be a convenient stop for a gallon of milk and a flu shot, the writing is on the wall, or perhaps more accurately, printed on a receipt the length of a CVS receipt. The future of this retail chameleon is as uncertain as the expiration date on that bottle of vitamins you bought 3 years ago. Chapter 5. Macy's, the department store's dwindling department. Now let's talk about Macy's, a company that was once synonymous with Thanksgiving Day parades and overpriced sweaters. But those glory days are fading faster than a cheap dye job, and the department store landscape is looking as barren as a clearance rack after a Black Friday stampede. We're talking about declining revenue that would make even the most seasoned accountant break out in a cold sweat. The shift towards e-commerce has hit them harder than a rogue mannequin falling from the display window, and store closures are becoming as common as awkward encounters with perfume salespeople. It's enough to make you want to weep into a pile of discounted throw pillows, but the reality is, department stores like Macy's are struggling to stay relevant in a world where you can buy anything from a toothbrush to a diamond necklace without leaving your couch. And frankly, who needs the hassle of navigating a multi-level department store labyrinth when you can have everything delivered to your doorstep with the click of a button? So while Macy's might still hold a special place in our hearts for its iconic holiday displays and slightly terrifying talking Santa Claus, the future of this retail giant is about as certain as finding a decent pair of jeans on sale. Chapter 6. Nordstrom, no longer the Nordstrom rack star. Ah, Nordstrom, the department store that whispered, "I have disposable income," even if you were just there to browse the shoe department and pretend you could afford those designer heels. But even this bastion of upscale retail is feeling the pinch of a changing market, and it's not a good look. We're talking about a drop in revenue that would make even the most well-heeled shopper clutch their pearls. Consumer behavior is shifting faster than the trends in their designer handbag department, and store closures are becoming as common as finding a sequin-covered sweater vest in your grandpa's closet. The problem is, Nordstrom built its reputation on personalized service and a curated selection of high-end goods. But in the age of online shopping and instant gratification, that's no longer enough. People are more likely to click add to cart than they are to spend an afternoon being fussed over by a sales associate, no matter how impeccably dressed they may be. So, while Nordstrom might still be a destination for those seeking a more luxurious shopping experience, the future of this retail darling is as uncertain as the lifespan of a trendy handbag. Chapter 7. Now let's talk about Rite Aid, a company that's been hanging on by a thread thinner than a pharmacy receipt. This isn't just a case of a few bad business decisions, folks. This is a full-blown retail meltdown of epic proportions. We're talking about bankruptcy, a word that strikes fear into the heart of even the most seasoned investor. We're talking about opioid lawsuits, a legal quagmire that would make even the most hardened lawyer reach for a bottle of aspirin. And we're talking about a failure to modernize, a refusal to adapt to the changing times that's as baffling as it is tragic. Rite Aid is like that friend who still has a flip phone and thinks MySpace is the height of social media. They're stuck in the past, clinging to outdated business models and hoping for a miracle that's about as likely as finding a unicorn in the prescription drug aisle. So, while Rite Aid might still be a convenient stop for a last-minute greeting card or a gallon of milk, the reality is, this pharmacy chain is on life support, and the prognosis isn't good. Chapter 8. Now, let's talk about Dollar General, a company that's built an empire on the backs of bargain hunters and those who believe that everything tastes better when it's shaped like a dinosaur. But behind those fluorescent lights and overflowing aisles lies a truth that's about as pretty as a tube of discount lipstick. We're talking about a stock plummet that would make even the most seasoned investor reach for the antacids. We're talking about a rise in theft and violence, turning those once innocuous aisles into a scene from a low-budget action film. And we're talking about workplace safety violations that would make OSHA inspectors weep into their clipboards. Dollar General, it seems, is a company that's willing to cut corners faster than a coupon clipper on Black Friday, and the consequences are becoming increasingly clear. They're exploiting their workers, putting their customers at risk, and generally contributing to the decline of civilized society, all in the name of a good deal. So, the next time you're tempted by those low prices, remember that you get what you pay for, and in the case of Dollar General, it might be more trouble than it's worth. Chapter 9. Best Buy, the place where you used to go to buy a $2,000 television and leave with a $10 HDMI cable, and a nagging feeling that you'd been ripped off. But those days are fading faster than the battery life on a first-generation iPod, and the big box electronics store is facing a future about as bright as a burnt-out plasma screen. We're talking about a decline in foot traffic that would make even the most enthusiastic salesperson weep into their demo model. Competition from Amazon is crushing them like a rogue Roomba running amok in a glass figurine factory, and store closures are becoming as common as those annoying pop-up ads you can't seem to close. The problem is, Best Buy built its empire on selling physical goods in a world that's increasingly digital. They're like a record store in the age of Spotify, a Blockbuster Video in a Netflix world. They're trying to adapt, sure, but they're like a dinosaur trying to outrun an asteroid. It's just not going to end well. So, while Best Buy might still be a decent place to buy a new printer cartridge or to have your computer repaired by a teenager with a questionable understanding of the word virus, the reality is, this retail giant is on borrowed time. Chapter 10. Save Mart. Can this grocery chain be saved? Now let's talk about Save Mart, a grocery chain that's about as exciting as a bag of generic potato chips, but just as essential to the communities it serves. But even this bastion of bargain groceries and questionable produce is facing a fight for survival, and it's enough to make you want to hoard canned goods like a doomsday prepper. We're talking about a sale to private equity, a phrase that sends shivers down the spines of workers everywhere. We're talking about restructuring, a word that's often synonymous with layoffs and store closures. And we're talking about the dependence of communities on these stores, places where people rely on for affordable groceries and a friendly face at the checkout counter. The problem is, Save Mart is caught between a rock and a hard place, or perhaps more accurately, a Walmart and an Amazon Fresh. They're struggling to compete with the low prices of the big box stores and the convenience of online grocery delivery. So, while Save Mart might not be the flashiest grocery store on the block, it's a vital part of the communities it serves, and its potential demise is a stark reminder of the fragility of our retail landscape. Chapter 11. JCPenney. From penny pincher to penniless? JCPenney, the department store that your grandma used to drag you to for back-to-school shopping. You'd wander through the racks of sensible slacks and itchy sweaters, praying for a swift and merciful end to the ordeal. Well, those days might be over soon, but not for the reasons you might think. We're talking about financial struggles that would make even the most seasoned accountant reach for the smelling salts. Store closures are happening faster than you can say clearance sale, and the competition from online retailers is about as fierce as a grandma fighting for the last pair of support hose. The problem is, JCPenney has become the retail equivalent of that pair of sensible shoes you got for your birthday. Practical, maybe, but not exactly exciting. They've struggled to stay relevant in a world obsessed with fast fashion and online shopping, and their attempts to modernize have been about as successful as a middle-aged dad trying to use TikTok. So, while JCPenney might still hold a special place in our hearts for its portrait studios and surprisingly decent appliance sales, the future of this retail stalwart is about as certain as the fit of a pair of discount jeans. Chapter 12. Sears, a Retail Requiem. Now let's pour one out for Sears, a company that was once as American as apple pie and baseball, but is now fading faster than a pair of denim overalls in a chlorine-soaked kiddie pool. We're talking about a retail tragedy of Shakespearean proportions, a slow-motion collapse that's been painful to watch, like a once majestic oak tree slowly succumbing to a particularly aggressive case of tree blight. We're talking about bankruptcy, a word that sends shivers down the spines of even the most hardened capitalist. We're talking about store closures that have left gaping holes in malls across America, like missing teeth in the grinning face of consumerism. And we're talking about a shift in consumer behavior that's as dramatic as a teenager discovering they can buy literally anything they could ever want on their phone. Sears, you see, was the king of the catalog era. A time when you could order anything from a toaster to a tombstone without leaving your living room. But they failed to adapt to the digital age, clinging to their brick-and-mortar stores like a shipwrecked sailor clinging to a piece of driftwood. So let us remember Sears, not for what it became in its twilight years, but for what it once was. A retail giant, a symbol of American ingenuity and consumerism, a place where you could buy a Craftsman tool set and a Kenmore washer and dryer, confident that they'd outlive you, your children, and probably even your grandchildren. Rest in peace, Sears. You will be missed, kind of. Ah, Kmart, the store that time forgot, or perhaps more accurately, the store that time actively chose to leave behind. Remember those blue light specials, the slightly off-brand merchandise, the vaguely depressing atmosphere that permeated every aisle like the scent of stale popcorn? No? Well, that's part of the problem. We're talking about a decline in store numbers that's more dramatic than a middle school production of Romeo and Juliet. Financial struggles are piling up faster than dirty dishes in a college dorm, and competition from big-box retailers like Walmart and Target has left Kmart looking like a sad, forgotten younger sibling. The problem is, Kmart never quite figured out what it wanted to be. Was it a discount department store, a grocery store, a place to buy discounted patio furniture in February? Nobody really knew, least of all Kmart itself. So while Kmart might still hold a special place in the hearts of those who appreciate a good bargain and aren't too picky about things like quality or customer service, the reality is, this retail dinosaur is on its last legs. Now let's talk about Bed Bath & Beyond, a store that was once synonymous with wedding registries and the overwhelming desire to buy more towels than any human being could possibly need. But those days are fading faster than the scent of a freshly blown-out Yankee candle, and the future of this home goods haven is looking about as bright as a linen closet, illuminated by a single, flickering light bulb. We're talking about financial losses that would make even the most extravagant coupon clipper weep into their stack of 20% off coupons. Store closures are happening faster than you can say Egyptian cotton, and competition from online retailers like Amazon and Wayfair is about as fierce as a bidding war at an estate sale featuring mid-century modern furniture. The problem is, Bed Bath & Beyond built its empire on selling physical goods in a world that's increasingly comfortable, buying everything from bath mats to duvet covers with a simple click of a mouse. They're like a bookstore trying to compete with Amazon Kindle, a record store trying to survive in the age of Spotify. So, while Bed Bath & Beyond might still be a decent place to stock up on discounted kitchen gadgets and overpriced candles, the reality is, this retail giant is teetering on the brink, and its future is as uncertain as the thread count of a sheet set on clearance. Ah, GameStop, the store that was once a haven for gamers, a place where you could buy, sell, and trade video games to your heart's content, surrounded by the comforting scent of stale pizza and teenage angst. But those days are fading faster than the graphics on a first-generation PlayStation, and the future of this gaming mecca is looking about as bright as the screen on a Game Boy Color, with dead batteries. We're talking about a shift in consumer behavior that's as seismic as the transition from Atari to Nintendo. Digital downloads are king, physical copies are becoming about as relevant as a floppy disk, and GameStop is stuck in the middle like a confused parent trying to figure out what Fortnite is. Financial struggles are piling up faster than a backlog of unplayed games, and store closures are happening faster than you can say achievement unlocked. They've tried to adapt, pivoting to selling collectibles and other merchandise, but it's like trying to put out a forest fire with a squirt gun. So, while GameStop might still be a decent place to buy a used console or to find that rare collector's edition you've been searching for, the reality is this retail chain is fighting an uphill battle against the digital tide, and the odds aren't in their favor. Well, there you have it, folks. A whirlwind tour of the retail apocalypse in all its depressing glory. It's enough to make you want to withdraw all your money, buy a cabin in the woods, and become completely self-sufficient, subsisting on a diet of foraged berries and squirrels. But before you start investing in canned goods and learning how to churn butter, remember, there's still hope. Maybe, just maybe, these retail giants can adapt, evolve, and find a way to thrive in this brave new world of online shopping and instant gratification. Or maybe they'll just continue to crumble, leaving behind nothing but empty storefronts and the faint scent of regret. Only time will tell. Until then, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time for more depressing news from the world of retail.